I got to tell you guys this story. About 10 days ago, I was at Sky Harbor Airport down in Phoenix, and I was getting ready to fly back home through Chicago. I walked in after getting dropped off and checked in at the kiosk there, and I saw that my seat on the plane was seat 28E. And 28E is in the middle of the row. It was going to be a 3-hour flight. And so I was like, I got to find another seat. And so I'm looking around. The only seat I could find on an aisle was seat 8B, which is not in first class, by the way. And so I quickly changed my seat so I'd have a little bit of leg room and so I could make it through the flight without going crazy. Well, I get on the plane. I sit down to a guy who's probably in his 70s. And from the time I sat down, we hit it off bigger than life. And he and I talked about his family. We talked about the businesses that he had built in the Chicago area. And of course, we got into the fact that I was going to be running for the state Senate. Like me, this gentleman is sick of big government taking away freedom and raising taxes and spending too much on programs that are inefficient and largely ineffective in many cases. And for 3.5 hours, we talked and talked and talked. His wife was in the row next to him, and she kept turning around like, man, you guys won't shut up. But anyway, his name was Tom. And before we got off the plane, he asked me for some of my contact information. I got his. It was one of the most pleasurable conversations I've had on an airplane ever. And I was getting ready to write him a note to tell him thanks for his time and his conversation a couple days after I got home. And the mail came, and there was a letter in the mail, a very nice letter from Tom that he sent on his company letterhead, wishing me well on my campaign, and enclosed was a check for a few $100s. This letter hangs in our campaign office on the wall right over there, along with a couple other encouraging notes that we've gotten so far. The reason I want to tell you this story is because if you're out of state and you wonder how this race impacts you and you're wondering why you should be financially invested in it, I want you to follow Tom's lead and get financially invested to whatever degree you can. And if you're in the state of Iowa or even in the district, which are going to be places where the results of this election will influence you more directly than they will Tom in Chicago, I want to ask you to get involved as well. If a guy from Chicago who's got almost nothing to do with this area and this state, he doesn't know me hardly at all except for a conversation we had on an airplane, is willing to get invested financially, then I want you to consider to do that too. We need to raise over $100,000 from friends and family who are supportive of me. And I'd sure appreciate if you'd help us meet that goal so that we can restore limited government and lower taxes and give freedom back to the people of Iowa, and so that can spill over to the rest of the country. I sure appreciate your consideration, and thank you for your time.